Why you might not understand all the secrets of eternity. Science can only take you so far. You were given this life and the spirit within you. It holds a much higher law. There'll be those who try to keep you marginalized, hypnotized to control your mind. Open up your eyes. It's time you realize the truth is only dangerous to those who live a lie. If you want to change the world, it starts from inside. If you want to make a difference in somebody's life, if you want to change the world, it starts from inside of your heart and your mind. Giving more than you take in this life. Why you might not understand all the problems in the world today, take the time and give some love. So you can't do it all, but you can still do something. If you just give, there's enough. There'll be those who try to keep so compromised, desensitized to the greed and crime. While you're all caught up in the material side, not how much you get, but it's the way you live your life. If you want to change the world, it starts from inside. If you want to make a difference in somebody's life, if you want to change the world, it starts from inside of your heart and your mind. If you want to change the world, it starts from inside. If you want to make a difference in somebody's life, if you want to change the world, it starts from inside of your heart and your mind. Giving more than you take in this life. There is a light shining, shining, shining way deep down inside you. So bring your light shining, shining, shining from deep down inside you. If you want to change the world, it starts from inside. Aloha from Hawaii. Everybody enjoy this beautiful event. Mahalo.
Mahalo. Thank you, Darrell. That was beautiful. That was amazing. Big, huge thanks to the incredible Darrell Aquino for sharing his amazing voice and talent with us this morning to start off this really special conversation with Congressman Adam Schiff and mixed earners from across the United States. Hi, everybody. My name is David Dastmalchian. I am so grateful to be hosting this important event. And before we get started, if you're watching and you happen to be posting on social media, please use the hashtag #MakeCOVIDReliefWork. It means so much for me to be here today speaking on behalf of our need for support for mixed earners. I've been really lucky and fortunate. For those of you who know me, in recent years, I've worked on some hit feature films and TV shows, but it was not that long ago, 2014, in fact, as I was just telling Sarah, when my wife and I were expecting our first child, and we had a whopping, I believe, $900 to our name. And up until that point, my annual income as an actor was very week to week, month to month. I was also a jack of all trades mixed earner, and I would vacillate between $17,000 a year to $60,000 a year tops. And that is the reality that nearly every working actor knows. And if the pandemic had taken place in 2015, I would have been in this exact same situation as so many have found themselves in. 25.5 million workers in the United States today are unemployed or have experienced income loss because of the pandemic. The mixed earner movement represents an estimated million workers nationwide. And for those of you who are watching, if you're not already familiar, mixed earners include everyone from music artists like our awesome show opener, Darrell Aquino, restaurant workers, actors, roadies, live events employees, so many more. Americans basically who collect both W-2 wages and self-employment income, people who collect both of those. And they have fallen through the cracks of our unemployment system because of an unintended flaw in the CARES Act. Like Darrell, for example, who just sang for us, he's a mixed earner in Hawaii where tourism has dropped 74%. He used to perform 8 gigs a week. He made a good living in 2019 as a self-employed musician. And then when he applied for unemployment in March of 2020, once the pandemic hit, some very small W-2 income that he had received qualified him for just $74 a week in unemployment. Now, none of his self-employment counted. So Darrell missed out on $24,000 in benefits in 2020 due to the flaw in mixed earner unemployment benefits, and he continues to lose $500 a week in aid that he really needs to survive. The current unemployment system does not allow workers to collect equitable benefits to meet their needs. So here we are this morning around the country, and this afternoon, this event will hopefully educate the public on the plight of mixed earners and offer some information and assistance for unemployed mixed earners struggling to make ends meet. So if you're watching and you're hoping to learn something, get some inspiration and hope, and if you just want to advocate for those that you care about, we're all here in this together. And we really need to advocate for this, the passage of the next COVID relief package, which includes the $100 a week mixed earner unemployment compensation benefit for mixed earners. Obviously, and we'll discuss this today, the MEUC is not going to solve all of the financial stresses that you're facing if you're an unemployed mixed earner, but it's something, and it will extend some relief to aid you in your hour of need. We are so fortunate to get to have some time today with the incredible Congressman Representative Adam Schiff, who has been fighting for mixed earners since the early months of the pandemic and supporting other efforts in Congress to help unemployed people. We're also going to hear from a number of mixed earners themselves whose stories reflect the needs that so many are facing. So it's my great honor and pleasure to welcome Representative Adam Schiff. Thank you so much, Congressman, for joining us to discuss COVID relief and the mixed earner population.
David, thank you so much for hosting us today. What a great pleasure to meet you. And Darrell, thank you for starting us off with that magnificent song, Aloha, and thanks for getting up so early to be with us today. I want to just give you briefly my history on the issue. Early in the pandemic, it became very clear to me, because I have the wonderful honor of representing so many people in the creative industries, that a lot of my constituents were going to be completely left out of unemployment compensation, because unemployment compensation is really geared to traditional employment. So people that get their income mostly as independent contractors through 1099s, people who are freelancers or gig workers or contract workers who go from contract to contract, as so many people in the industry do, they were going to be left out completely. And so I worked in the CARES Act to include a provision to provide unemployment compensation to this huge category of millions of people that normally wouldn't get unemployment compensation. And we were successful. And I thought, okay, great. We've been able to make sure that folks are not left behind. Well, then we learned by a quirk in how the CARES Act operated in conjunction with the various laws in the states about how states calculate their own unemployment compensation, that if your income wasn't purely independent contractor income or purely W-2 income, but you had a mixture of income, that depending on what that mix looked like, if you had just enough W-2 income, essentially to have to rely completely on that in terms of your state benefit, that many people got very little, virtually nothing, and were really in dire straits. And so I introduced a bill to allow people with that mixed income to choose to completely participate in the pandemic unemployment assistance, as if they got all their income in the same way, for example, through a W-2. what we ended up getting in the December relief package was not what, I fully asked for, to be candid, but then you rarely get everything you ask for. We did get a $100 a week benefit for people who are in that situation. Now that is clearly not enough. And I think that, what all of this demonstrates, frankly, for the long term, is that the way we provide unemployment assistance is really geared to an economy that doesn't exist much anymore, where people work for the same company their whole life and have just a straight paycheck from a straight, employer every month. And that's just not what the economy looks like anymore. So we're going to really need to overhaul, I think, how we provide unemployment assistance. But for this immediate crisis, we need to make sure that in this upcoming relief package, that we not only continue this mixed earner benefit, but we try to increase it if at all possible. So that's a bit of where we are, how we got here. But I realize just how many people are suffering and really struggling to get by and put food on the table. And so I'm devoted to doing all I can to try to meet the needs of folks out there, and events like this to help get the word out, help explain to the general public, to those in the media who are covering these issues, how this very important category of people has just been left out is enormously important. So thanks for inviting me, and look forward to our discussion.
Well, thank you. And again, like you said, it's enormously important, and it's something that just, for lack of a better term, slipped through the cracks. And people like yourself who are fighting on behalf of all these workers, that the $100 a week that you were able to fight for and get in there is the difference for some people being able to keep their phone bills paid, pay their car note, be able to pay their rent. And that's massive. One quick question before we meet some of our guests today. Can you just give us the status of the current COVID relief package?
Of course. This week, we hope to take the COVID package up in the House, and I don't think we'll have any difficulty passing it in the House. The House, as you all probably know, if you have one more vote than the other side, you can get anything passed. It's a very strong majoritarian institution. In the Senate, a lot of things you need 60 votes to pass out of the 100 votes in the Senate. But there are devices you can use to avoid that requirement. One is a very complex process called reconciliation. It's very likely that will be necessary, but that we will nonetheless get the package passed. It's our hope to get this done by the middle of March, so that we can get relief out to people as soon as possible, because a lot of the current benefits expire at the end of March. So we want to make sure this is done in a timely way. There are some remaining questions about, for example, we have an increase to $15 in the minimum wage and some other features. And one big question is whether we'll be able to keep all of those things in the bill, which I strongly favor. But those are some of the issues that are going to be resolved in the next couple of weeks.
Great. Well, thank you for that. And again, thank you for continuing to fight for workers across the country. Speaking of workers across the country, I'd love to hear from some people who this relief will be affecting and helping directly, and see what thoughts that they may have and questions they may have for you. So it's an honor first to introduce our first guest, Amber from Nevada. Amber, if you don't mind, just introduce yourself briefly. Tell us about your experience as a mixed earner this past year.
All right, well, welcome. Thank you for having us today. We're so happy to be here. It's such an honor. I'm excited to be able to bring some interest to this important thing. So I'm Amber. I live in Las Vegas. I work as a professional on-camera host, spokesperson, and presenter, primarily for trade shows. So that was the majority of my income. Obviously, in March, the trade show industry came to a complete halt, and we haven't had any. We're hoping, maybe in June of this year is the soonest I'm seeing anything possibly happening. But I had worked a couple of W-2 jobs for a couple of agencies in 2019 and early 2020. So I was awarded $114 a week in unemployment, which is actually more than some of my colleagues, but still not enough to live on long-term, of course. Technically in Nevada, $469 is the amount that I should have been awarded if my 1099 income was taken into account. Unfortunately, it wasn't. I kept counting down the days till I could apply for PUA and hopefully get the full amount. But with every extension, it was just frustrating because, we weren't able to do it. And I have been deemed ineligible for unemployment. However, they won't close my account on unemployment because of the possible extensions that keep coming. So I'm still unable to get PUA. So there's a lot of us like this. It's very frustrating, and I'm hoping we can bring enough attention to this and hopefully get it straightened out once and for all.
Well, thank you for being here with us. And I'm excited for the conversation we're going to have. Our second guest is Karen, who lives where I live in California. And Karen, if you don't mind just telling us briefly about yourself and how being a mixed earner has affected your ability to collect unemployment this year, and anything else, how it's affected your life. If Karen is there, do we have Karen?
There we go. I'm sorry about that.
There you go. Hi.
Hi. So my name is Karen Castoli, and I owned a circus acrobatic performance studio in Redlands, as well as a professional performance troupe. And I lost it in July due to COVID. And I didn't find out, unfortunately, until October that I was able to get this unemployment benefits through PUA. So I filled out an application in October, and unfortunately qualified for regular UI benefits because of some residual income. I used to be a stunt woman, and back in the 1980s, and the residuals are very small, but I made the minimum $2,000 a year in 2019. So it qualified me for $45 a week. And I would have gotten, because 90% of my income would have gotten me the $450 if I qualified for PUA. And so I'm actually, I'm homeless, actually. Yeah, I lost my home and everything. So yeah, so right now I'm actually on hold, and I'm not even receiving the 45 a week. So, because they're trying to fix something I don't understand. And so
there's a lot that needs fixing, right?
Yeah.
Karen, thank you for being here. And it just there's so much respect and admiration I have for every single person that's a part of this conversation today. There's so much stigma that goes along with being unemployed, and this year has shown us how many of our neighbors and friends and family and people we love and complete strangers are in this predicament together, and we are in this together. And so thanks for joining us. And our last guest for this conversation we're going to have with Congressman Schiff is Kyle, who is also in California. Hello, Kyle. I believe you're actually in District 28, if that's correct.
Yes. I am a constituent of you, Adam. So pleasure to be here. Pleasure to meet you. And thank you all for doing this. My name is Kyle Kaplan. I am currently a touring musician. It's where I make most of my income. But back when I was about 15 years old, I did a little bit of acting. I believe I played Chubby Kid #2 in Hannah Montana, for anybody out there that might have seen that. But because of my beautiful role in that, my benefit I qualified for, so, similar story to everybody else. Most of my income comes from 1099 right now. These residual checks, the W-2s, just hit the minimum threshold. So in California, my benefit is $41 a week. I'm used to making about, a six-figure salary. That's what I was expecting to make, obviously, until this came. So to still have those bills and to still have the living expenses of somebody with that salary, then going to $41 a week. It's a bit of a learning curve, and it's been a bit tough. And I guess I just want to really point out that mixed earners aren't asking for special treatment. We're just asking for equal treatment. We just want to be able to get, I guess, what we just feel is owed to us. And obviously, we're fighting for it, and that's what we're doing here today. So I'm very excited to talk, and thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. And all three of you, I'd like to give you a chance to talk to the person who knows the most about, where we are in recovery right now, and the person who's fighting on our behalf, Congressman Schiff. So let me just really quickly give some very sobering facts, as depressing as it is for everyone who's watching and here today. 12 million jobs nationwide are connected to live events. The pandemic has just impacted 500,000 jobs in film and television industry where I work, 400 productions canceled last year, countless industries, you guys. I mean, gyms are closed. They're going out of business left and right. My first question to the group is, where is your industry right now? Are you seeing hope for recovery? And I thought maybe we could start with Amber, and then anyone else who wants to can jump in on the conversation, and would love to hear from Congressman Schiff as well.
Sure. So here's Amber again. So as far as where the industry is at right now, the trade show industry is still not happening. I mean, there's nothing happening at all as far as trade shows. I mean, you can't have trade shows with social distancing is kind of almost impossible. We're seeing that in June, hopefully Con Expo is going to happen, or I'm sorry, I believe it's the World of Concrete. That's supposed to be the biggest one, first one coming back in June. So I'm very hopeful that that will happen, but who knows, with the vaccine now, there's definitely hope, but you just never know. So we'll see. We're hopeful.
Kyle or anyone, feel free to jump in, you guys.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, my industry, obviously the live music space, we were like the first to shut down, and we will probably be the last to fully reopen. And I just know in my industry, there are so many below the line crew members, people, not only just the artists, but the people that are putting on the shows that just don't know really what the future holds. A lot of the times, you have a second job for a lot of crew. Well, they'll have maybe like a local venue they'll work at when they're not on the road. Obviously, that's all closed down too. And this isn't going to rebuild overnight. It's going to take a long time. Another weird thing that we've had to kind of come to terms with is that we have had offers to play shows in states where COVID restrictions are, virtually non-existent. And then you have this weird dilemma where you want to make income, you want to be able to pay your rent, pay your bills and do this, but you also don't want to be a part of a super spreader event. And you don't want to also, hurt a bunch of people by doing a show. But when you feel like you don't have an option, a lot of people have to do stuff like that. And it's weird that we're put in this kind of like moral dilemma to do it. So, I mean, without question in my industry, everybody's still looking towards just unemployment right now. That seems to be the biggest topic that we're trying to get figured out.
I know that something really important to you, Congressman Schiff, is getting people back to work, but getting them back to work safely. And I think what a lot of Americans are failing to realize, it's exciting. Yes, the vaccine is coming and people are going to be getting back to work slowly, but it's those long-term unemployed folk and the live performers and people who interact in spaces like Karen and Kelly and Amber and so many more people on the conversation today, that it might be a much longer time before they're able to safely return to work. I just wonder if there was, I don't know how you navigate that when you're in Washington, and I know you want to help people get back to work as soon as possible, and people are, needing their income, but at the same time, you want them to stay alive. That's got to be really stressful.
It is, and it underscores why many of us feel there's such urgency to pass this relief package to get, in addition to mixed income earners covered, to extend unemployment compensation, to get direct checks to individuals, to make sure that we can get our schools reopened and our small businesses reopened, because there are lots and lots of families that are just hanging by a thread right now, and a lot of people that have invested everything into their own small business, even if they're small businesses themselves, and all that hard work is at risk of being lost if they can't get through the next few months. But, at the same time, we're trying to get this economic relief out to people. We're also trying to make sure that we bring an end to this awful pandemic. The vaccines are going to help a lot. And, it's worth underscoring, because I think there's been maybe an excessive effort to set expectations about the vaccines, and we're losing sight of just how phenomenally effective these vaccines are. These vaccines, I think each one of them so far that has been approved is reducing the chance of hospitalization and death overwhelmingly. 90 to 98% in terms of avoiding those kind of really serious outcomes. That's a phenomenal achievement in terms of developing a vaccine within a single year. It's really an incredible scientific achievement. So obviously we need to get those vaccines rolled out as soon as possible. We need to try to get them in people's arms before the virus can mutate sufficiently to do an end run around the vaccines. But there's something that we can all do that will help us economically, that will help us beat the virus. And that is, and this gets back to Kyle's point, which is, follow the experts' advice in terms of social distancing and wearing a mask. Because that's as effective as having a vaccine. And that's something that we all have access to right now. And the combination of following those best practices, getting those vaccines out ASAP, will, I hope, mean that things can go back to normal soon. In particular for those industries where they were the first to close and will be the last to reopen, it's all the more imperative.
Absolutely. I mean, it's pushing a giant boulder up. Like for me, working in film and television, as an actor, the privilege that I have is crazy sometimes, but it's like, yeah, I'll be the first person, one of the first people back to work because the camera has to shoot the actors, but they've cut crews by half. If you look at, people forget when they're thinking about live events, the bartenders that are working at the club, the door people, the cleaning crews that are coming in, all those people who are without work because of this. Karen, I'm sure when you were, running your space and, teaching gymnastics, you had staff, there's all kind of infrastructural employ that happens with that. Do you mind, Karen, just talking briefly again? I know we know the personal loss is so great that you're currently homeless at the moment, and you've been unemployed for months, but looking at the number of people affected by that closure and the effect that it's had on your life. Do you mind talking a little bit about that with us, Karen?
Well, yeah, obviously I had to let go of all of my head trainers, but my business also had a performance troupe in it. So at least half a dozen performers that I use regularly are out of work. And of course, all performers are out of work in the corporate industry as well. So yeah, and as far as my studio went, I mean, I couldn't hold it open because it was, with all the social distancing and what we do, we really have to spot people to keep them safe, so we couldn't touch them. So that's what really basically made my studio close. Did you want me to also share how it has affected me financially?
It would be really important. I think people need to hear that because it crosses the board and it affects people from all the research that I've been doing and the way it's affected people I know and love, everything from food insecurity to home insecurity to medical coverage insecurity. I mean, it would be really useful for everyone watching to get to hear a little bit about that from you. Thank you.
Well, yeah, because, as of last July, I had 6-figure income and a nice home. And I was doing well, had 2 businesses really. But when I lost the 2 businesses, I lost my home too. And I was able to live with a friend. I had to move far away to do that for 5 months. And then with the problem with the whole PUA, I am now homeless. And as of 4 weeks ago, I thought I was living in my car. I was literally planning how I was going to live in my car. It's why I moved back to my hometown so that I could actually call people to ask them, could I park out front of your home? Just because it's illegal to sleep in your car in California. So fortunately, a friend acquaintance offered me a storage room, rather large. She had sold her house, and as kind of a trade, she said you could sleep on the couch and sell all my stuff. So I'm selling all of her stuff in this storage room, but I'm grateful because it was cold out there, but yeah, I've got 3 storage units. This is the hardest part for me. This is what gets me emotional, but sorry, I've got storage units, and 2 of them are my circus acrobatic studio, which I love, and my 30 years of costuming. And I didn't expect to get emotional. I'm still gonna, even if I get the benefits for PUA that I fully need, the 450, I'm still gonna be living in my car or in this unit because I need the money to pay for my storage units because they're being threatened. Probably in a couple of months, they'll be threatened to be auctioned off. And if I lose those 2 storage units, I've lost everything. I won't have a career anymore.
That what you're saying is it leads to my next question that I would love for all 3 of you to get to address for the congressman, but also Karen, it's what you do is vitally important, and these jobs, these different careers that this has affected, and the people who've lost everything, they've lost their ability to do what they do, think about the troop and the people that you were interacting with on a daily basis and the effect that your work was having on their lives. This pandemic has also taken that away. And that is what makes our society whole. That kind of work and that kind of interaction with the community and teaching young people and inspiring people and getting them physically fit. It's great for mental wellness. It's great for physical wellness. It's great for community wellness. We need you back. We have your back, and we're going to do everything we can. Everybody who's watching, I know that you can't hear this. You can't hear the story without it like affecting your heart. And so we're going to advocate for you. And we're blessed that we have people like Congressman Schiff in Washington and so many others on both sides of the aisle. You guys, this isn't a political issue. This is about helping people in need. It really is. And we just are blessed that we have politicians. We also have community leaders. We also have teachers and artists in our community who are doing this work, so the question that I wanted to present as we kind of get to the end of this segment of the conversation today is, what kind of aid do you think, if you guys, I'm sure you think about this stuff, would be beneficial to you as the pandemic, quote unquote, starts to wind down, as we start trying to find our transition back to life, not knowing obviously when that moment is going to be happening. There's not some magic finger that's going to snap and say everyone's back to work. Kyle and Karen, Sarah, everybody would love to hear if you have any thoughts on that or questions.
Yeah, of course. Well, first off, just so grateful to you, Mr. Schiff and Congress, for getting this $100 a week benefit passed. I know you really championed this, and Pelosi and Schumer also fought for that personally. So we really appreciate that. I mean, we just need this money so bad. Obviously, you hear this story. I feel terrible. It's just been, it just really sucks when it's not your fault. You worked a job, you thought you were doing everything right. You pay taxes on this money. You feel like you should be getting the aid from your government when a once in a lifetime pandemic happens. But yeah, we just really need to make sure this continues to pass. And for any extension, this needs to keep going through so we can get some support. The mixed earner problem, I don't know, I guess UI can't fix it. We need to figure out something in the Build Back efforts, Biden's plan, to figure out some like debt relief problems. I don't know, just something that can help people like us, because even if we are able to get these benefits eventually, like Karen was saying, there's still going to be a mountain of debt. I know for me, my credit rating has now gone down. I just had to put so much on credit cards to try to stay afloat. And those aren't going anywhere. That debt will be here even when our industry's back. Another thing I would love to see too is just an easy website to go to be able to look for grants. I know right now there's so much information. There's so many different things that exist out there, but there's really no central place on a government website to see what exactly you can get. And especially if you're an entrepreneur or a mixed earner, where you can go to find all this stuff. I feel like you have to have a degree to navigate some of these websites right now. So something like that would be great. But yeah, the unemployment system, it just feels very underfunded. It's just been left behind. And I even feel bad for the people that work there that have to deal with us calling, and they don't even know what's going on. These systems are so old. We need to really just reform that. And I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm just sort of
no. Those are all. It's an emotional conversation. There's a lot. I'm going to try and just condense and organize a little bit so we can ask Congressman Schiff and Amber too, just so you could, if you want to chime in, because right now I'm talking about obviously the debt that you've accrued relief. Dealing with that, finding centralized locations for data and information. Obviously, like overhauling the unemployment system is a huge conversation, and that's the thing that we need to have at a certain point. But I think definitely debt relief and centralized information locations. Amber, did you have I want to make sure you get a chance to chime back into the conversation, especially looking at like, boy, if I had my magic wish, if there was something or anything that you'd like to present or put out there, thoughts that you have for the congressman.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Kyle made some really good points. I mean, I think a website dedicated to grants and things like that would be wonderful. I mean, the Paycheck Protection Program was a great option, but you can't do that with unemployment. So it kind of, balances the other one out. So it would be nice if there was maybe some forgivable loans or grants, as Kyle said. Another thing that I know a lot of my colleagues and myself included have dealt with is overpayments from unemployment. So the last extension, they just continued to pay us, but then they told us afterwards that actually we weren't eligible, but that was an issue with unemployment system that was through no fault of our own. So it would be nice to maybe be able to get some of those no fault overpayments forgiven, because, you know, that's just kind of putting us more in debt. I know luckily I had some savings, so I've been able to, you know, keep going, but a lot of people don't. So I do feel for them, and, you know, it's going to be tough. Who knows when the industry's coming back? We'll just have to see.
Those are awesome points. And so, Congressman Schiff, not to overwhelm you, but to combine those again, I think debt relief, especially no fault debt relief when it comes to mistakes made in the system, and centralized data and information for everyday Americans. Those are two things we'd love to see if you want to share some thoughts with or shed some light on for us.
Absolutely. And you know, I think those are very good, important ideas. You know, Amber, I think it's outrageous that if the government sent you money through the unemployment system, that they're trying to claw it back now. You know, if that was the government's mistake, it was the government's mistake. There are plenty of people who are out trying to defraud the government, which is a very different situation. But when the government itself is the one that makes the mistake, and you spend what little you get sent to then try to say, well, okay, you got to pay us back now, I think that should absolutely be forgiven. And I will look into that issue. I also think that it would be enormously helpful if we could simplify the process of, okay, here are the resources available. If you're in this situation, here are the programs that are available. If you're in this situation, here are the programs that are available. And, you know, I did want to mention one resource to you that may not be apparent to you and to people who are watching, and that is your member of Congress. You know, Karen, I wanted to mention, I don't know whether you pursued, for example, the PPP program for small businesses, or there's emergency economic disaster assistance loans and grants. It sounds like you may qualify for some of those programs in addition to the unemployment compensation, because you're also a small business owner, and that might help. Those programs might help you save those two facilities that are so much at risk. So if you want to reach out to my office, we can look into it. We can put you in touch with your representative. My number is 818-450-2900. Our offices are, you know, they're not available for walk-ins because of the pandemic, but we're receiving all the voicemails and emails and following up with constituents. And I would love to try to help people make sure that they get access to some of the help that is out there. And so, you know, reach out to me. You know, we like to have our own constituents to help, so we may refer to you to your own member of Congress, but we can at least give you a heads up that, hey, it sounds like you would qualify for this program. Your member of Congress can't tell, for example, the SBA, you need to give them a PPP loan. But what we can do is we can help you apply. We can make sure we stay after the SBA so they don't, you know, lose your application, or you don't get the runaround by the bank. One thing I will tell folks that are watching, which has been the experience of my constituents, if you have applied for a PPP loan through a small business with a large banking institution and not had any luck, a lot of the smaller community lending institutions are doing a better job. And you can apply to more than one financial institution. You're probably only going to qualify to get one loan through, for example, PPP, but you can apply to several different institutions, and you can take the first one that gets you the assistance. So in any event, don't hesitate to reach out to your representatives. There's also state programs available, so reach out to your state representatives as well. And finally, in terms of loan forgiveness, one aspect of that, which, you know, some of you may also have to contend with, is student loans. You know, I'm working to try to have the federal government forgive up to $50,000 in student loans. You know, for me, my student loan payments were bigger than my rent for 10 years, the first 10 years that I was out of school. And but I went into a profession where I could afford to pay them back. I became a lawyer and I could pay them back. And a lot of people can't afford to, or they're not able to follow their passion because their passion doesn't pay well enough to pay back their loans. And
yeah, that was my case for years, for many years. Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a real societal cost to that when people can't pursue their dreams because they can't afford to. So in any event, these are also avenues that I would encourage you to pursue and that I'll be pursuing in Congress as well.
That's great. And for people watching around the country right now, and obviously everyone in here, I'm going to provide, and even I, the technically most challenged of anyone, is going to show you how easy it will be for us to find out who your reps are, contact your reps, have communication with your reps. We're going to share all that with you. So stay tuned. As I do sometimes, I get behind my schedule a little bit. And I want to thank the three of you mixed earners for being a part of this conversation thus far. It's been really insightful and emotional. So thank you for being so brave and coming on today and sharing with us. It means a lot. So thank you. I really appreciate it. I have a couple of questions for Representative Schiff now from mixed earners who will unfortunately not be able to receive the MEUC benefit despite experiencing income loss. And I wanted to make sure we get to include their voices in this conversation. I know there's so much we're trying to cover today, but I would love to transition now to welcoming our friend Janice. Janice, if you don't mind, please just introducing yourself briefly to the Congressman.
Hi, Congressman Schiff. My name is Janice Robinson. I'm a mixed earner. I'm a single mom with two daughters, 12 and 18. My 18-year-old is legally blind. She lost her vision 3 years ago. I'm an international singer-songwriter. I live in Naples, Florida, but I'm originally from Garfield, New Jersey. I lost my entire income, 75% of my income, from concerts performing around the world. It was about 75%. And now with COVID, I don't have that income anymore. I began substitute teaching because I realized, the educational stage is a place where I could shine and I could make a difference and I could pour into the lives of the young people who will be future people in society. And they will grow up hopefully being inspired by my story, my ability to come back from being on stage to walking in the classroom. The reality is that 8 years ago, I started substitute teaching because the income of music royalties and everything and shows and waiting to get the gig and not get the gig, it just kept going up and down. Now with COVID, I find myself driving Uber, substitute teaching, just to survive this. I was very emotional hearing Karen's story because, when my daughter lost her vision, that was one type of pandemic where we lived in a hospital for 3 months. And I didn't qualify for a lot of these programs because my income in 2019 was literally all shows. And, I live in the state of Florida. So right now I'm driving and teaching, and I'm driving and I'm teaching, and I'm staying hopeful. But my biggest concern, I think you touched on it, is I have to go now back and try and earn a new degree so I can be a permanent teacher. I have the qualifications to substitute teach, but I'm now finding myself, I need to have my own classroom. I need to make this pivot because with my daughter having this disability, I am now working doubly hard for her and to provide the life that I built over the last 30 years. My question is the debt. I'm drowning. I'm about to be drowned. I'm putting her through college and about to put myself back in college. Is there going to be some type of student loan, debt relief? And what's your position on it?
Well, thank you, Janice, for sharing your story and your family story. I can't imagine how challenging a year it's been for you and Karen and so many millions of others. I think there will be student debt relief. I think the big question is how much, and it seems like the range is anywhere from 10 to 50,000. You may have seen recently that the president was asked at a CNN town hall about using his executive power to forgive 50,000 of debt. He pretty directly ruled it out. But there was a statement, I think, issued by the White House after, which left a little more wiggle room, that the administration was going to determine, ask the Justice Department after the Attorney General was confirmed, what authority the president has to forgive debt. But I think whether the president feels that he can do that on his own, or Congress needs to act, we ought to act to help people, number one, help people afford to get a higher education if that's their career path and that's what they need to do to succeed. And number two, for those that have incurred enormous debt that is putting a crushing burden on them that they just can't get out from under. There ought to be provision for debt forgiveness, and I would support forgiving up to $50,000 worth of student debt. So I also think we need to explore more opportunities for free college education, and also to bring downward pressure on tuition so that everyone can afford a higher education. So I think all of that needs to take place. We need to help those that already have the crushing debt, and prospectively going forward, we need to help people be able to afford to get the education they need.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My daughter is in college and I'm returning to school this summer, and just moving forward as a substitute teacher, Uber driver, I mean, I'm just doing what I have to do. But ultimately, my job has always been to sing and write songs that encourage and inspire and uplift people. And not being able to do that right now, it's a heartbreaking. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for all you do. And I will keep you in my prayers.
Thank you. And right back at you.
Thank you, Janice. And thank you for using your voice today in this conversation. It's incredibly important. We have one more question for you, Congressman Schiff. You've been so gracious with us today. I'd like to welcome Kelly. Kelly, if you could please just introduce yourself briefly and ask your question for the Congressman. There you are. Hi.
Hi there. My name is Kelly Johnson and I live in Dunedin, Florida, and I am a mixed earner. Unfortunately, even though as amazing as the mixed earners division or a segment of the COVID relief happened in Florida, we still have not implemented that program for the recipients. So it's definitely a struggle, but I'm thankful for all the work that you've done so far. I know that there's hope on the horizon and we just need to get there. Before COVID-19, I was a restaurant manager, a gym manager, and a personal trainer. So everything was kind of floating around, working 60 hours a week. Everything got shut down. I now, because of my income, I basically have qualified for $71 a week in unemployment benefits, which is really a difficult journey. It's just a difficult journey for all of us. But one of the things that actually has happened in my unemployment is I ended up helping many Floridians get their benefits here. I work probably 15 hours a day for free to try to help navigate these complicated systems, which we touched on earlier. But it also inspired me to run for office. I tried to take out the incoming Speaker of the House. That didn't work out for me, but I am running again. So I'm making a career change. And one of the big questions that I asked in my group, and it's on so many of our minds, is our next step. Being unemployed, part of it is being attached to the reemployment end. And because we are in a pandemic and because jobs are very scarce, we're not really hooked up on that reemployment end. And many of us don't have jobs to go back to, including myself, and we're making a switch onto something else. Is the government looking at that issue here about reemployment, about ageism that many of us are facing, about the high cost of going back to school? Is there anything on the horizon that you could tell us that might be hope for those who really feel like they have nowhere to turn, no job to go to, and no future?
Yes, and thank you for the question. I'm really disappointed to hear that Florida is not implementing the mixed income earner provisions. When we were trying to get the bill passed and trying to get the bill included in the relief package, we got essentially word from the states that if we made it mandatory, they would fight the bill and we would get nothing. So it is incumbent on the state to decide to participate. Now, my understanding is, and I don't know whether it's 48 out of 50, but almost every state has decided to participate that really has any number of mixed income earners. There are a small number of states with small populations where it's not that much of an issue. But in Florida, it's going to be a big issue. And for the life of me, I don't understand why Florida would not participate.
Well, they are participating. They just haven't like it's still being updated in the system.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
It's still coming along. It's approved there, but it's still coming slowly along.
We got a
that's
link
good.
last week. We got a link. It doesn't do anything, but we do have a link.
Well, this is maddening for me, and it's obviously life-threatening for many people, because one of the reasons why we had to go with a fixed benefit of 100 a week, which we're trying to increase, is because the states were so overwhelmed in terms of their unemployment systems that if we gave people the option to participate in PUA completely because it was advantageous to them, it was too complicated a formula for states. So we went with the simple formula, and even that apparently is too much to get done quickly the way it should in some of the states. So that's really discouraging. In terms of what is the federal government doing, what should we be doing to help people transition from job to job, career to career in this kind of a work environment? There are programs available through the Department of Labor. Frankly, I think they're archaic, like so much of our labor system through the unemployment offices and the labor office within the federal government at the state level. They're geared to yesterday's employment. And I really think that, and I've been a kind of an evangelist for this over the last few years, I think the sole mission for the federal government, I've been arguing within my party that it should be our party's central focus, is making the economy work for everyone. We're in an economy now where increasingly people, they are driving Ubers, they're participating in other parts of the gig economy. And as a result, they don't have retirement. They don't have a health plan. There's no safety net. When they're unemployed, they're out of luck. That's part of the reason we had to develop this pandemic unemployment system. And we're not going back. I don't see us going back to the kind of situation where people work for a single employer their whole life, and they work for that employer every week and every day. And so we need to make sure that our healthcare system is portable and moves with people wherever they are, that it's not a constraint for people changing professions or jobs. We need to make sure that people can get the skills that they need to pursue new careers as the economy changes and evolves, because it's evolving much more rapidly. And this, even pre-pandemic, this was true. But given the pandemic, it's all the more important that we help people get trained for new work, new professions, new places, new livelihoods. So I think you're exactly right about what we need to be doing. In Congress, we are, I think, poised to have a new focus on this very effort in the House of Representatives. I've talked to the Speaker about it, and we're trying to organize exactly how we're going to do that. But I think that really needs to be a top priority.
Thank you. And thank you so much, Kelly. And thank you, Janice, for being a part of the conversation. As we wind things down today, obviously we got to touch on so many important subjects, and there's still so many more questions. So like I said, in a few minutes, I'm going to show you guys how to get even more important information, because education is empowerment, and getting all the data that you need is something I know Congressman wants. So thank you, Congressman Schiff, for participating in this conversation, in this event, for all that you do on behalf of Americans every day. It means so much to us. We're so grateful and honored that you took some time to be with us here today.
David, thank you so much. And thank you, all of you, for sharing your stories with us. Darrell, thank you for performing. And Aloe, can't wait to hear your performance. And it's a real pleasure and honor to join you today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Keep up the good fight. So before we close with the performance, as we've all been waiting for Aloe Blacc, I want to ask everybody who's watching, help us be an advocate today. Help us ask Congress to pass the MEUC benefit in this next relief package, I'm going to show you how easy the mixed earner website is. It is, I'm going to get my screen here really quick. Hold on one second. Perfect. Great. I've got it set up. Awesome. So on the homepage, you can click on Tell Congress to Support Mixed Earners image right there. You see that? Got it. Easy, easy, easy. You can also find the campaign page on the Take Action tab that's on the menu in the upper right-hand corner. Great. Got it. So this page basically gives you a few ways you can engage with your elected representatives. It's so easy, you guys. If I'm doing this, you can do this. We're asking Congress to extend the MEUC and increase the benefit from 100 a week to 150. All you have to do is enter your home address, and then you'll be directed to this letter page to submit. You'll know your letter was submitted when you get a thank you, and you get this message, it'll appear. And then you can also speak to somebody in your representative's office by calling the main switchboard and just provide your address to the operator, and they'll patch you right through. We've got a whole script here for you to use. Make sure that you reach out to your senators as well, as Representative Schiff stated earlier. You know, going through reconciliation is going to be a process, and we want to make sure we've really told them how much it means to all of us, whether we're unemployed or not, that this is just basic stuff that needs to happen immediately. We've provided recommended posts, so please go on social media, write, share, call, support the MEUC benefit and mixed earner movement. And now we're going to close out this event with a very special treat. We're all so lucky today. Aloe Blacc has graciously donated his time to come perform for everyone. Amazing artist and advocate. Hello, Aloe. It's so awesome to see you. I knew you were the mushroom all along. I just want to say that. Thank you so much for coming today and sharing your support for the mixed earner movement. You're amazing, and you've been doing so much fun stuff lately. It means a lot to everybody.
Thank you so much, David. Thank you so much, Representative Schiff. I'm happy to be part of the movement, and this is such a great cause. So many people are suffering, including in the music industry. And this is billions of dollars in aid that will go directly into people's pockets. So if you don't mind, David, can you tell me one more time, or tell all of us?
You got it. There it is. David, the least technically savvy person in the world. You just go to mixedearners.org, click on Tell Congress to Support Mixed Earners. Please do this right after the event, before you go about the rest of your day. You leave it for later, you're going to forget about it. So this bill is getting voted on very soon. Do this right now, right after Aloe's performance. First, we're going to listen to the music. We're going to get inspired. I can't wait. And then go to mixedearners.org. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so honored to introduce Aloe Blacc performing his hit song, My Way.
Thank you. I'm going to dedicate this to all of the mixed earners looking for a change. I've been sad, I've been lost, I've been down and out and lonely. Yeah, I've been suffering at a job in a world that tries to own me. But when I wake up in the morning, there's an image of a better place. Yes, cause the harder that we grind, then the sweeter is the glory. People say I'm foolish. People say I'm blinded by faith. But if I run out of air, if I crash, I don't care. I'm gonna do it my way. I can make it through this. You can throw the world in my face. But the fear gives me life, and I swear till I die, I'm gonna do it my way. Hey, I'm gonna do it my way. Hey, gonna do it my way. So put me down and criticize me with your lies and with your parody. Yeah. In the darkness I don't hide, cause I got pride that gives me clarity. See, I still wake up every morning with the vision of a better life. You see, the option of defeat, it's just not written in my story. People say I'm foolish. People say I'm blinded by faith. But if I run out of air, if I crash, I don't care. I'm gonna do it my way. I can make it through this. You can throw the world in my face, but the figures be laughing. I swear till I die, I'm gonna do it my way. Hey, gonna do it my way. Hey, gonna do it my way. Every time they build a wall around me, I'ma tear it down and say, gotta live my dreams. Gonna live my dreams. Even when the floods rush round to drown me, I'll just hold my breath and pray, let me live my dreams. Every single one of my, I ain't quitting none of my dreams. People say I'm foolish. People say I'm blinded by faith. But if I run out of there, if I crash, I don't care. I'm gonna do it my way. I can make it through this. You can throw the world in my face, but the figures be laughing. I swear till I die, I'm gonna do it my way. Let me fly through the air. If I crash, I don't care. I'm gonna do it my way. Cause the figures be laughing. I swear till I die, gonna do it my way. Thank you. Thank you all very much. Go to mixedearners.org. That's where you need to go and have a wonderful